Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Legendary Mad Matilda. Get the conclusion to the Spinsterella trilogy at online booksellers today. In a previous video, I talked about the 3 phases of being a goth, and in that video I gave a general overview of how a person grows into the subculture and grows older in the subculture. And I talked a bit about the 3 phases a person goes through as they go from being a baby bat to adopting the goth lifestyle as their lifestyle. And in that video I talked about the baby bat phase, where a person first discovers goth and then learns about the subculture, and the adolescent phase, where a person is growing into finding what role they are going to play in the goth subculture and where they want to be in the goth subculture and how that will shape their identity. And I also talked about the third phase, which is the elder goth phase, where a person is already established in the subculture and they are now teaching the culture and then passing it on to the next generation. Now in this video I'm going to go a bit in depth about what I call the adolescent phase. Now the adolescent phase of being a goth is one of the most turbulent times of a person who is in the subculture. Just like being a teenager, the adolescent goth is a person who is coming out of their baby bat phase and then finding out a lot more about the subculture. They're learning about the different aspects of the music. They've come out of the classics like Susie and the Banshees, Bauhaus, Joy Division, and Sisters of Mercy, and all the basic bands. And they're starting to explore other different genres of music, like the dark wave, like the cold wave, like the new wave, and even finding out about things like EBM and industrial, and they're also finding out about other fashion styles in goth, like the industrial fashions, or the steampunk fashions, or the punk fashions, or the post-punk fashions, and they're exploring these different styles and exploring these different aspects of the subculture and finding out what they like and what they want to be a part of their lifestyle and what they want to be a part of their visual aesthetic. And when you have an adolescent goth, they're trying to see what styles fit them, and sometimes they'll take one style and they'll go and they'll mix it with another style. And again, this is all about creating the identity and the style that they feel comfortable with. So you may see a person who may mix a new romantic with an industrial skirt, or a guy who mixes a new romantic pair of pants with a steampunk, and he's doing that again because he's trying to figure out what style and what aesthetics work for him and what look works for him. And the whole thing with the adolescent is that they're exploring and finding out what they like and what they don't like. And sometimes people's looks will change, their aesthetics will change, and even their taste and interests in music and art and literature will change because, again, like the teenager, you're trying to find out what you like and what you want to be a part of your life and your lifestyle as a goth. That's what the adolescent stage is all about. This is why you'll see somebody who will go and change their hair from V-bangs to pigtails, and they'll change the hair color of their hair, and sometimes they'll change the total complete look because, again, trying to figure out what works for you, what fits you, and what is going to be what you consider your goth look or your goth aesthetic and the type of music you like in the subculture. This is what people do in the adolescent stage because you're exploring and discovering, and it's not bad to explore and discover because as you learn more and more about the subculture, you learn more about the different styles of music, the different looks, the different art, the different literary styles. You gain an expanded mindset and you learn more about the culture and you can understand it more in depth and you can explain it more to people as you explore the subculture and learn about the different aspects. People in the adolescent stage, they may go to one traditional club one night and then they may go to an industrial event, or they may go to another type of event like a poetry event. And again, it's them trying to learn about different aspects of the scene and learn where they want to be in the scene. This is all all a part of exploration. This is all what teenagers do when they're trying to discover who they are. Another aspect of being an adolescent goth is trying to find not only your place in the subculture, but also trying to figure out how you're going to make a living in the world. Because a lot of people in the adolescent phase, they've come out of their baby bat years, which were a part of their teen years, and then they're entering their young adult years. These are people who are usually, they've come out of high school, they've come out of college, and they're getting ready to enter the world of professional work. And it's completely different than something like a fast food job or a Starbucks job where you just wear a uniform and you wear a wig sometimes if you have colored hair to cover it up, or you wear a hat or something like that to cover things up. The professional world is completely different. And during the adolescent phase, this is where many goths have to learn how to really adapt if they hope to try to make a sort of living, any sort of living in corporate America. This is where a lot of people, some of them become what they call the weekenders because they don't want to completely change their aesthetic and um, and lose their job. So they wind up making the compromise where they're forced to present a corporate appearance from Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday and Sunday they go out and they put on the complete goth look. Other people in the adolescent stage, they start learning how to modify their look so that they won't wind up alienating bosses and costing themselves a very lucrative job. So they'll wind up again doing things like modifying their clothes and modifying their hair so that they can find a way that will help them keep the job that they have and stay goth in a way that won't get them fired. Other people, what they'll do is they'll try to find ways to express themselves and their dark aesthetic by going out here and buying black clothes and then mixing different colors in and then mixing different designs and patterns in and creating different kinds of outfits that appear professional but allow them to keep their dark aesthetic. And an example of that is what I saw on the Sophistique Noir blog a couple of years ago when I was started writing the first Spinsterella novel. And this was a woman who was a goth for many years, over 20 years, and she decided to make a way to stay goth while she was working in corporate America. And many goths have to do this because if they want to make a living, what they have to do is adapt to their look to the workplace. And this is something a lot of people have to do, and this is something people have to learn how to do during the adolescent phase, because during that phase you're trying to figure out where you want to go in your professional career, but you also want to try to maintain the dark goth look that you have and the dark aesthetic that you have and stay true to yourself while finding a way to still make that living in the career you chose to pursue. And that's a major challenge during the adolescent phase for many goths and many of us darkly inclined out here, is still trying to find that way to still maintain your identity as a goth and still be able to go out here and work in a place like corporate America or corporate businesses abroad. Because I know a lot of goths out here are in European countries, Asian countries, foreign countries, all over the world. And that's a major challenge in the adolescent phase, because the adolescent phase, again, it's all about discovering what you like in the subculture, learning about different aspects of the subculture, and then trying to find a way to adapt those um, dark aesthetics and stay true to yourself while trying to find a way to make a living. And this adolescent phase is filled with a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and it's a very emotional part of being a goth. It's just like being a teenager, because teenagers are filled with angst, they're filled with anxiety, because they're still trying to figure out how to make things work, how to make things work for them, and how to make things work in a way that helps them navigate a course in the world. And that's all a part of the whole adolescent phase. And this is something I felt I needed to write about in the legendary Mad Matilda, because in the legendary Mad Matilda novel, this is where the Matilda Crowley character is in her adolescent phase, and she's in the rave scene. She's a rave event promoter and a rave event coordinator, and she's just about to come out of college, and she's trying to figure out a way to stay true to herself as a goth as she transitions into corporate America and tries to find a way to make a living. She's still trying to find a way to stay true to her identity, and she's still trying to find a way to stay true to the values she had in the subculture, and stay true to who she wants to be in the subculture, and find a way to make that work in the world of corporate America. It's a tough period for the Matilda Crowley character as she transitions from the rave scene to corporate America. She goes through a lot of hardships and a lot of struggles. And one of her friends, the Lady Diabolite character, she also is going through the same type of transition because she's just got her master's degree and she's trying to start teaching at this university. She got an adjunct position and she's trying to figure out how she wants to keep her goth aesthetic and her goth look and incorporate it in a way that helps her keep her career and start her career in a way that doesn't alienate people in an environment like a Columbia University. Both women are trying to navigate a course for their career and then trying to find a place for themselves in the subculture and find an identity for themselves that in the subculture and trying to find out where they want to go in the subculture, because the goth subculture is a very broad thing. A lot of people, they'll come in and start with the club scene, or they'll start with the music, or they'll start with the fashion, but as they learn more about the subculture, they start to learn that it's a very broad thing, and there's a lot of different aspects to it. And some people, as they're exploring, they find the place they want to be. Now, others may find out that goth is not the thing that for them, and they decide to leave the subculture. So they never enter the adolescent phase. But those who enter the adolescent phase, they have to try. They learn a lot more about the subculture. They learn the bigger picture of the subculture, and they grow into the subculture, and they learn about the vastness of the subculture, and they find that place in the subculture for them. This is the whole thing about the adolescent phase, is finding the place that's right for you, the style that's right for you, and what makes you comfortable. The whole thing is about finding all those things that you like and making that a part of your goth aesthetic and your whole identity as a person and the lifestyle that you want to live. Because goth is not just one thing, it's anything, it's everything that you want it to be, and you find the things that are dark that make you feel comfortable, and you incorporate those things into your life and your lifestyle. And that's all part of the adolescent phase of being a goth, is finding all those things. And then once you have come out of adolescence, you start coming into adulthood. And when you enter the adult or the elder goth phase, that's where you can take all the things that you have learned and then go on to teach others about the subculture. And when you're in the elder or adult phase, that's the phase where you're passing that culture and tradition on to the next generation of baby bats so that they can learn what was great about the goth subculture, what was great about the music, what was great about the literature, what was great about the fashion, and pass that on so that they can understand what the subculture is about and why it's important. You can pick up the legendary Mad Matilda and learn more about Matilda Crowley's adolescent phase as a goth by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.